Alright, we're back. This time with Versus Castlevania, which is technically an arcade game. I feel a little bit cheap about submitting this, but to spice it up a bit, I'm going to try to do this as a no-miss clear, meaning I don't take a single death the entire first loop. And I'm only going to play it out for one loop once again. I don't have the practice with loop 2. First stage is first stage of Castlevania, so I'll just talk through it, give my reasoning about why I wanted to run this, and let's go. So, I had two themes kind of going in the games I submitted this year. I somehow managed not to get any music in the first stage. Oh yeah, I think I remember hearing about this bug. It's something about if you start the game on a certain part of the loop, you don't get music right away. It should come back, though. Everyone knows Vampire Killer as a song, right? Just sing along. But, yeah, I had two themes about the games I selected for this year. 4 out of the 5 are actually games that are readily available at an all-you-can-play arcade near me, and that I like to put credits into every time I go there. And that's where Versus Castlevania comes in. The other one was to try to, try to balance out my selections. I had 2 Contra games, I had 2 Castlevania games, and then I had Shinobi as the oddball out until it turned into the incidental ninja block. Alright, I'm going to try to get bat skip here one time. I'm not very good with it, but in case you haven't noticed, the timer in this is really strict. Oh, I just missed it there. Alright, we're going down below, but at least I get to show you a hidden point item for it. Obviously, this isn't a speed run. I'm not much of a speedrunner, so I'm going to instead try to show off a lot of the hidden things in this game. In Versus Castlevania, the big 2 changes they did was how much damage enemies do to you. Notice I've gotten hit twice and I've lost half my health already, and this will get worse the further into the game we get. And then the other thing is the timer in the first 3 levels is incredibly strict. I'm going to try to save you from the low time warning until at least the 3rd level. Hey, music's back. Giant Bat brought the music. You know, only just recently I found out that you can still jump and attack during the end of stage jingle. As far as trying to play this... As far as trying to play this for a no-miss clear, my big worries are the 3rd level and the final level. Those are the nasty ones. Everything else I feel pretty confident with. Hey, you see that crown down there? Note my score and listen closely. Yeah, I just picked it up. What do you know? In case you're not too familiar with Castlevania, I should probably comment on something that I've been setting up. You get these sub-weapons that you can use. They cost hearts. And after defeating 10 enemies or 10 candles with your sub-weapon, without switching, you get a multiplier that drops that allows you to have more of the sub-weapon out on the screen. There's also hidden multipliers throughout stages that help you fill it up higher. 3 is the highest it goes. Well, in order to completely melt bosses, you want to have 3. I'm going to do a little skip here because these stages are way too short, or the timer on these first couple of levels are way too short. But yeah, Pay attention to that little note that it's all about hitting 10 candles or enemies with your sub-weapon before a multiplier drops. There will be a quiz at the end. So to be completely afraid during a no-miss run, those things kill you instantly if you touch them. Nice little trick to put in for a second stage of a game. These are bone pillars. In level 3, they will be one of my 2 greatest enemies. I will say, I've played enough of Castlevania games now that I feel pretty comfortable around dealing with Medusa heads. 2 things to always keep in mind when playing Castlevania games, the classic ones at least, is that, 1, always try to whip to get the enemies to run into your whip, instead of, like, trying to hit them directly with the whip. That really helps on the Medusa heads. It gets your timing down so that your whip is out and they collide with it. Oh look, you can also whip after you've collected the orb as well. And the other one is that all Belmonts have a stanky leg that they can dangle over ledges, giving you a wider jump range. So this is, like I said, this is probably the first stage I'm really worried about. There's no healing, except at the very beginning where it's pointless, and the very end where it's too late, because you can only get it after you beat the bosses. And there's a lot of, like, enemies that's easy to mess up their timing, or they're semi-random, like these ravens I'm about to start fighting. Alright, so far the ravens are behaving nicely. So these point items I'm showing off, there's a couple of ways to activate them. Some you just have to walk into a certain area, some you have to duck, some you have to stand still. A fun one with the ones that you have to duck to activate the point item to show up is if you fall beyond, like, your jump height, you go into a crouch animation, and that actually counts towards ducking to activate the point items. This stage, also, I don't know any major skips for it. So I'm probably going to be running really low on time by the end of this. Alright, now the gauntlet of bone pillars and ravens. Timing and semi-randomness. And that one will send a lot of players into pits if they're not careful. So far looking good, but damage has already increased in this stage. Enemies are going to do 5 points of damage if I get hit. So that means I can only get hit for free twice. So for safety, I'm always going to try to throw out a holy water at these bone pillars to eat their fireballs after I take care of the first 2 with pure timing. Ooh, a late one after its death. Alright. Not too worried. We're almost at the end of the stage. And the last... I shouldn't get hit during the bosses. Thankfully, I can throw out multiple holy waters. Alright, there. That was probably the last challenge before the bosses. Now, let me start showing you how cheap holy water is. Oh, there's Simon's alarm clock going off there. And there is the health refill. How nice of them to make it that it traps you in the boss arena if you try to get it. Okay, well, that was one tight point down. Let's hope I can execute on these next 2 stages. I feel more confident in them than stage 3, but they're still tricky. going to whip twice to try to set up the timing of everything down here. There is a bat skip you can do to bounce up on top of these rocks, but not so... I'm not so practiced at that one that I would try to do it during this event. I'll just take the old-fashioned way of taking the moving platforms. You'll also notice that the timer is back to normal length, so I can be a little bit more relaxed in these stages. So, I'm trying to keep the holy water, specifically a triple holy water, through this game to make bosses and situations easier. These guys have a chance to drop items when you kill them, including stuff like an axe or a stopwatch. So I'm going to take it very careful through here and make sure that I see what they drop before I progress. So far I've been lucky and only gotten large hearts, but I know that that axe can be right around the corner. There we go. I'm going to wait for this to despawn because I don't want to jump into one of the birds. And say bye to the bone dragon. He's doing his best. It's not his fault that he's stuck to the wall. Now, unfortunately, the triple water didn't defeat that one, but it won't be a problem, because we're going to do more holy water shenanigans on this boss. This is Frankenstein, or Frankenstein's monster if you want to be that way, and Igor. They are very random, they are tough to fight, or you can stop them from ever moving. Oh look, you could whip and jump after you collect the orb. If I can get by this stage, I should be past the sticky points where, in worst case scenario, I do lose a life, and this is no longer a no-miss attempt. I can at least recover. The end of this stage is notoriously nasty to try to recover from a death in. Because, well, I guess fittingly, you're fighting death. I got stuck on those stairs. Alright, now I'm slightly worried. But things should be okay. If I don't get hit again, I can at least be back up to full health against the boss of the stage. And I'll say one thing, though, I'm a stickler of calling this a no-miss attempt instead of a deathless run, is because in most Castlevanias, there's always one death, and you have to fight them. Simon's going to get to know this wall a little better, and oh hey, look at that. A 1-up. That would be great if, you know, this wasn't a deathless attempt, or a no-miss attempt. Alright, just deal with those flea men, and we're safe for a little bit now. Because as soon as I'm done collecting these weapons, because I'm a habitual candle whipper, there's our first wall meet of the stage. And now we have the axe armors. A favorite of the Castlevania series. These enemies are particularly nasty in this game because they have no animation to show if they're going to throw an axe high or low. And what I'm hoping for is to make it to the end of the next screen without getting hit again, and I can be back up to full health for the final screen of the stage, and a pretty notorious one at that. And also the #1 reason why trying to recover if you die against the boss of this stage is so difficult. Simon inspects some of the alchemy going on in the background and is rewarded for it. Yeah, really when it comes to stuff that they changed about this game, they didn't remove any 1-ups or other tricks about this. There's also another hidden 1-up in the second loop, but I always forget where it's at. A no miss is not losing any lives. Alright, now all I have to do is not mess up the timing of the start of this next stage, where bone pillars make a surprise return. I can get my health back. Let's hope they don't do that thing where they spit out fireballs after I defeat them again. You know, while we're talking about like how versus games change the game to try to make them harder, a funny one to me is versus Gradius doesn't appear to make any changes to the NES version of the game, making it one of the easiest versus games to clear if you know the original. Alright, so here's the final room. We got Medusas and we have axe armors. What a combination. Thankfully, holy water does dispatch them pretty easily. So I just have to be a little bit smart and take my time. By backing away from the axe armor, I can make it approach me and walk straight into the holy water's flames. Alright, so here we're at the boss of the stage. And if I do this right, I think I got him trapped. There we go. If you let him touch the ground, he'll start summoning scythes that slowly chase after you and are a real pain in the butt to take care of because they come at angles that you can't normally whip. Alright, now from here on out this should at least be an easy 1-credit clear, but I'm not past the deathless dangers yet. Now it's time for the giant bat bridge. 1, hold left and never let go. It helps set kind of like the seed that these bats will use for their actions, so that if I do the same things over and over again, they should react in kind, and I should be able to get past them without much trouble. Alright, they're behaving so far. Yeah, I was gonna say, that one's gonna whip at, or that one's gonna dive at me. I stopwatched too late and took a hit there. I have to make a choice. Do I go after a dangerous wall meat, or do I just try to play the stage out and not get hit during the final boss? What shall I do? Gonna kiss this wall to get the skeleton to jump at me. And then deal with this one. If by any chance you manage to get him on the opposite side of you, it makes it a lot easier. Alright, I'm gonna just go for it. Not getting the wall meat that's right there. Unfortunately, while I like to show off a lot of secrets, I had to skip that entire clock tower area because it is a nightmare. Remember when I told you that you'd be quizzed on multiples earlier in the game and how the sub-weapon system works? Let's count to 10, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4. Dracula had time to reset all of his candles. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that means the next one's 10, right? Oh look, there's my multiple. So using the multiple that you get from the boomerang to quickly power up your holy water really helps Oh, Dracula is not playing nice. So his pattern on this fight is kind of tricky. He kind of teleports back and forth, favoring a side. And I don't like what he's doing right now. So I'm trying to be ready to dodge him for when he teleports to one side or the other. Because if you're walking the wrong direction and he teleports while favoring the side you're walking towards, there's a chance that you'll spawn in a way that you can't get past him before he'll hurt you. That's actually what happened really in the beginning of this fight. That was unfortunate. That usually doesn't happen. But that puts me in the danger zone now. So far, he's behaving after that. In the NES version, apparently the timer that controls like where he teleports to keeps running when you pause the game. So if you pause the game, it can completely throw off your timing and trying to predict where he shows up at. Alright. And this is why we wanted the double holy water. Just keep this up, and he never gets to move. And ponder the orb. There we go. Over the credits here, I'll just say it was a fun year. Wasn't as successful in a lot of my games. Oh, shout out Trans Fishers. But it was a fun time. Glad I got to show off these games. Might not have gotten all my 1CCs, but at least I got to show off the silly things about the games that I wanted to show off. One funny thing about these joke names at the end is I always misread the fake actor for Zombie as John Candies. And I only just recently realized that there was actually an actor closer to Joan Candies in old monster movies. But I will say, the reason why I won't try to do Loop 2 on Versus Castlevania, I'm going to stick with the NES game, is this. Enemies are already doing half my health and damage. But yeah, that's it for all I have to show off. Best of luck to the opponent in trying to go for a world record in Elevator Action Returns. I look forward to watching it. Have a good rest of your weekend, everyone.